This is very important. Python! Yes! My favorite! Everyone's very excited. You wake up today, 6:30, you look at the calendar, Python, 3 o'clock. Yes. Today we talk about Bluetooth. Yes, my favorite. You know all about Bluetooth from John's lecture, right? Right? John gave a lecture, he talked about Bluetooth. You learn everything, right? You learn nothing. I will teach you. What is Bluetooth? Why do I care? How do I use it? What is a socket? How do I use a socket? All of these questions will be answered, many of them with help from Keith. Who is Keith? We'll talk about that. All right, what is Bluetooth? But first, how was everyone's weekend? Who went to Comic-Con? What did you see? Spider-Man, Iron Man. Oh, it's too soon. Tony Stark. Oh. Good. All the students who came in the winter, they went downtown. They didn't see anything. There was nothing there. Some of you went swimming. Nobody died. Very proud of this. We saw a lot of fish, some sea lions, a lot of grass. Very exciting stuff. Okay, back to what really matters. Bluetooth. What is Bluetooth? Bluetooth is a radio protocol. You probably know this, you use it with your telephone. Maybe you have wireless speakers connect to your computer. Maybe you've done 100 other things with Bluetooth. I don't care. Bluetooth is in the ISM unlicensed 2.4 gigahertz band. This is my favorite band. Let me tell you why. You don't have to pay to use it. All of your radio stations, television stations, government radio, this is all protected. If you want to use that space, you have to pay for it. If you operate a radio station on a frequency that someone else has paid for, you go to jail. Not the 2.4 gigahertz band. Anyone can use it. Even you. Even you. Even me. The only rule is don't be a jerk, because you have to share this band with everyone. And so there are limits to how much power you can transmit. It is really, really easy to build a jammer which will disable all Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, Zigbee, and cellular telephones in the whole building. You take a microwave oven and you pop the glass out of the front. Don't stand close to it because you will get cancer. But besides that, it will disrupt everyone's telephone and Bluetooth service. Don't be an asshole. You do this, the FCC comes, you go to jail, you pay a big fine. We're going to use it in a very neighborly way, just to share a little bit of data about the atmosphere. How does Bluetooth work? Bluetooth has 79 channels in this range. equally spaced. 2,402, 2,403, 2,404, and so on until 2,480. But unlike your favorite radio station, when you're on Bluetooth, you don't stay on one frequency. Maybe you have heard this, don't touch that dial. Do you know this? This from the old days of television, where they're going to do a commercial. They say, don't touch that dial, because they don't want you to go to a different station. In Bluetooth, this is the whole point, because it's a shared space. Maybe someone else is talking on that channel. You can't both talk, so you move to a different one. When you make a Bluetooth connection, the first thing you agree on is the next channel that you will use. Each channel you use less than 1 millisecond. Then you go to a new channel, and so on. This is to prevent interference and also to be a good neighbor. The data rate on Bluetooth, 1 megabit per second. It's not a lot. Maybe it is a lot. It depends what you're doing with it. It's enough for pretty good phone call. It's not enough for a pretty good video. It's more than enough for a pretty good air quality sensor, which is what we're going to do with it. All right. There's two flavors of Bluetooth. Maybe you have heard of Bluetooth Low Energy. This is the special newer flavor. And you're in luck. The UDO board does both flavors, but also you don't need Bluetooth Low Energy for this project. If it was my project and I was in charge, hell yes, we would use Bluetooth Low Energy. But this program has been going for 4 years, maybe? And this is my first time teaching the sensors part, so it's too late for me to say we're using Bluetooth Low Energy. What's the difference between the classic and the low energy? Well, the low energy uses less energy. Imagine that. How does this work? Bluetooth Low Energy is super low data rate. I mean, you can hardly get anything out of it. It's specifically for applications where you don't need a lot of data. Maybe you're measuring the carbon monoxide in the atmosphere and you only need to update once every 10 minutes. Oh, Bluetooth Low Energy is perfect for that. We're not going to use it for that, but it would be perfect. Maybe after this course, you go back to Korea, you drop out of college, you start your own company making an air quality sensor, use Bluetooth Low Energy. I promise you it will work. I told you Bluetooth Low Energy has a lower data rate. That's kind of true, kind of not true. They both use 1 megabit per second. The problem is with Bluetooth Low Energy, the radio is mostly turned off. This is how it achieves low energy. You agree, the client and the server, that no one will say anything for maybe 3 seconds, and then we check in with each other. This is different from regular Bluetooth, where it's constant, always, just back and forth, forever, no breaks. In Bluetooth Low Energy, you got a very explicit relationship. One person has all of the data and the other person asks for it from time to time. Not how we're going to do it for this program. I'm only telling you so that when you go back to Korea, anyone asks, did you learn about Bluetooth Low Energy? You can say, yeah, we learned all about it. We didn't use it in our project, but I would like to in the future. John talked a little bit about services, I think. I only sat in like 5 minutes of his lecture. I think he said service. We're going to talk about those. In Bluetooth Low Energy, you've got all your data is broken into profiles, services, characteristics. It makes a tree. You'll look at it and say, wow, this would be perfect for our project. We're not going to use that. That's okay. What we are going to use, this is the real money, the Bluetooth Classic serial port profile. The reason we're going to use this is that it connects with the UDO board really easily. That's it. That's the main thing, is that because we only have 3 weeks left, we're just going to do what's easiest, not what makes the most sense. Because I've done Bluetooth Low Energy projects, getting set up is a real pain in the ass. But once it's set up, oh, everything is so smooth and so good. For now, we're just going to do the easiest approach. Many of you may know what a serial port is because you used it with Arduino or a different project. That's great. Go get a coffee. You don't need to watch this. This is what Bluetooth Low Energy data tree looks like. It's so cool. You just ask for what's in this service, and then I say 3 numbers back at you. Done. All right. Serial port. Why do we care? What is serial? Let me tell you. Let's say we got this byte we want to send. It's a hexadecimal byte, 5C. This is what it looks like in binary, and we have a problem. There's no figure. Go figure. All right. Serial versus parallel. You know, I'm not going to use this program. Wake up. Oh, here we are. How about a new page? Thank you. And we'll call this Python 5. Okay, serial versus parallel. Whoa, too big. Okay, well, that's close. What is going on here? Serial versus parallel. Wow, this is a terrible pen. All right, let's say I got this byte here. What the hell? Something's going on with my pen. Is all goofed. This is terrible. Oh man, I really should have prepared for class. This is awful. Give me a minute. We gotta fix this. You guys remember last week when my pen worked? It was really cool, right? This is something else. No? Come on, you. Serial. Parallel. We're just going to make it do. I got device number. Ugh. Ugh. This is terrible. Device number 1. Device number 2. I want to send some data. This is how we do it in parallel. It's the parallel approach. All the data comes across at once. We got so many. What the heck? Now I'm pissed. No figures. That's just how it is. Sorry, everyone. If I get the figures done later, I'll email them to you. Damn technology. Okay, I'm just going to tell you. Serial, you send it all in a row. 1 byte at a time, the receiver has to put it back together. That's it. If it was parallel, you send it all at once. So something like SD card. The proper way to write to an SD card is 4 bits at the same time. If you want to write 1 byte, you write the first 4 bits with the clock, and then the second 4 bits, and the SD card will stitch it back together. If you're really poor and you can't afford to use the secure data interface because you didn't pay for the license, then you just use a SPI, which is for serial interface, and you just have to send the bits in 1 at a time. It's really slow. But we don't care for this application because we don't have a lot of data. This is fantastic. Yeah. Next. Okay. What is a serial port? What is UART? As I told you, serial data. The bits are sent 1 at a time. The serial port has 2 data lines, 1 for transmitting and 1 for receiving. If you've got 2 devices, you take the transmit of one and you connect it to the receive of the other. Sometimes you will hear a serial port called a UART. What is a UART? This is an acronym which stands for Universal Asynchronous Receive and Transmit. The asynchronous part is very important. There's no clock. Usually when you send a data signal, you send a clock with it. In this case, you don't. You just depend on the receiver's clock to make sense of it all. The sacrifice here is that you cannot use the maximum clock rate. All of these protocols here use a clock. You're curious about them? Come talk to me. So here's what a very simple serial port or UART network looks like. 2 devices. You might ask, are we only using 2 devices in this? I thought Bluetooth and all this wireless crap. That's true. It is. It can be called like a star network. But on the UDO board, we're very lucky. There is a single chip which handles the Bluetooth communication, and you access it with a serial port. The reason for this is that we can use the serial port that's already on the UDO board as if it were Bluetooth. It's called like a wrapper with a W, not just a wrapper like M&M, but like a candy wrapper. It goes on the outside. So we put a serial port wrapper on top of this Bluetooth radio protocol to make it easy to use on the UDO end. And you might ask, do we sacrifice a lot of the power and potential of Bluetooth when we wrap it this way? And the answer is yes, of course. But you might also ask, will I miss that power and potential in this project? And I say, hell no. Here's how UART works. We got some common speeds. The most important thing about the speed is that the transmitter and the receiver agree on it before they start. If you just start transmitting at any old clock frequency, there's no possible way mathematically for the receiver to know what frequency you're using, unless you start your transmission with what's called a preamble, which is actually how I think Bluetooth and not Bluetooth, but some other protocols do this. UART doesn't use it because the transmission is so short, it would add a lot of unnecessary complication to the data stream and further slow it down. So in UART, Every bit is either a 0 or a 1. This is real confusing. The high bit is called a mark. That's my name. And then a low bit is called a space. We're not going to use those terms in this project at all. But if you're reading about UART later and you see these words, this is what they mean. So in UART, you start transmitting, you've got a start bit. Oh, the default state is high. And then you've got a start bit, which is a 0, then your 8 data bits, and then a stop bit has to be high. This is a very clear signal to the receiver where your message begins and where it ends. And you need to do this for every single byte. So if you want to send 5 bytes of data, you need to send 5 start bits and 5 stop bits, and usually have an empty space in between. What this means, you got a lot of overhead. If you want to send only 8 bits of data, you need a minimum 3 extra bits just coordination. So it's not a super efficient protocol. You want a super efficient protocol? Check out Wi-Fi or Ethernet. I'm talking thousands of bits with only a little bit of overhead. Bluetooth, the actual radio protocol, works very similar to this, but there's a lot more error checking, which we won't talk about because this course is too short. But suffice to say, the chip on the UDO board handles everything. All you care about is the serial port. So I said you can choose what speed you're using for the serial port. Within limit. You can't do a serial port at 100 gigahertz because your clock probably can't keep up with that. In this example here, boy, look at how slow this this bit transition here is compared to the system clock. All right, this is coming up on the limit where we say you don't want your UART clock to be fewer than 8 or 16 times, or sorry, you don't want your system clock to be fewer than 8 or 16 times your UART clock. It happens that our system clock is 1 gigahertz. We're not going to come anywhere close to that because we don't have to. If you try to get close to that limit, that's how you get errors. No good. But if you do get an error, we can check on that. How do we do that? We add an extra bit, more overhead. So this is what I'm talking about. Because UART is a relatively weak protocol, you got to be paranoid with your parity. What is parity? Parity is just a count. It's a rule that determines what your last bit will be. So if we go back to this example here, we've got 8 bits. Some of them will be high, some of them will be low. Before you start transmitting, you agree with your receiver, I will only send you data with an even number of high bits. If you get something with a low number, sorry, an odd number of high bits, that was an error. Check it out. Tell me about it later. And then the opposite is odd parity. So here is an even parity example. The data is 3 ones. They don't have to all be in a row, but in this case they are. We would tack an extra 1 on the end there to make it match. Even parity, 4 ones. Cool. Here's the thing about it though, you can't really tell if there was 2 goofs. If you got 2 bits that were both wrong, there's no way to know using parity. My advice to you is to put some kind of sanity check in your code so that if you receive a timestamp with a single bit error that says the year is 1,555,000, probably that was incorrect and you should request the data again. These are just some simple measures. Another Another way to check this is to just send everything twice. If you get two transmissions, they agree with each other, the chances of the same error in both transmissions is super low. Here's a sample transaction. We start in the high state. We're going to send the letter capital W. This is what it looks like in hexadecimal. We're going to send a start bit. We're going to send some data. We got a parity byte. We got a stop bit, and then it ends high again. We're done. All of this is going to be handled by the UDO board. Thank you very much. We got some buffers. What is this? A FIFO. Sometimes called a FIFO. I call it a FIFO. This stands for first in, first out. This is just like a stack of papers. Every time you get new data from your serial port, you put it on the stack. And every time you want to read from the stack, you read from the bottom. So every serial port or UART system has two of these. One for the receiving buffer, one for the transmitting buffer. This way, it doesn't take a lot of time from the microcontroller or the CPU or whatever you've got. You can put all of the data in the buffer and then tell the buffer to run with it and only call me when it's empty. Or you can, instead of constantly watching the buffer to see if there's data in it, you just wait till it's full. You say, hey, give me a signal when this is full, then I'll read the whole thing. Today, in the example, we're not actually going to use this buffer. We're just going to constantly ask the UART, do you have any data? What is it? Do you have any data? What is it? Do you have any data? Just on and on and on, probably 100 million times per second. Really annoying if you're the UART. But on Wednesday, we'll talk about asynchronous processes. And I will show you a better way where you don't have to constantly ask. All right, flow control. You might think, that seems kind of reckless to just constantly scream data at your partner without asking for anything back even. Are you ready? What happens if the partner's buffer is full? Well, in this case, we have two extra pins. One is request to send, and the other, or ready to send, and the other is clear to send. If you got some extra data, you let this person know by just raising this line, and then if they're ready, they'll raise theirs back. Cool. Then you scream the data at them. Not every UART system uses this. In some systems, when the buffer is full, all the extra data goes into the garbage. My advice to you is not get yourself in this situation. But these things happen. It's okay if they do. If your data is really important, use these other two signals. All right, now that you're all experts on the serial port, how do you use it? Oh, Jesus, I should have drawn another figure here. Didn't realize my pen was crapping out on me. This device here is an upside down WL1831 module. This is what it looks like from the top, right there on the UDO board, connected by two very thin wires. Actually more than two, but some very thin wires to the main processor on the UDO board. This device, it's not a chip, it's a number of chips, is awesome because it does the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth on the same radio. The Bluetooth, because it's a low data rate, it spits out just on a serial port, which is really easy to read from Python. The Wi-Fi data, it spits out similar to an SD card, which is More of a pain in the ass to read from Python, and we're not going to use it at all. I don't know if that's why we didn't just use this board to Wi-Fi the data directly onto the server, but we don't. We're only going to use the Bluetooth. Dear Mark, ugh. I had some great plans for a really cool diagram with some arrows and wonderful bright colors, but now all you get is soothing sound of my voice and your own imaginations. The most important thing is that it spits the data out as a serial port. All right, let's set up the UDO board to make use of this serial port. In this case, we're going to defer to Keith, who wrote up some excellent, really primo, top-notch instructions 2 years ago. Maybe it was 1 year ago. Yeah, 1 year ago. Boy, this guy had all the answers. Let me bust out my UDO board. You can follow along with your own if you want. All right. Give me a minute while I boot up here. I'm going to put this document on the shared drive so you guys can look at it later. I thought about retyping everything in a different font to make it look like I did the work, but what's the point? All right, setting up the UDO board. 4 steps. First, we're going to give our UDO board a really cool name, because if you try to use Bluetooth with it right now, it's just going to call it UDO or device 11177255555, some terrible name. We're going to give it a really cool name. Then we're going to turn on discovery so that you can actually use it. Sometimes you use Bluetooth with a closed network. You don't want people to know that you got it. In this case, we do. You're going to pair your smartphone with it. Oh, I really hope you guys have one Android device on your team. Question: does John give you guys an Android device to use in this program? Someone has to volunteer their cell phone for this. That's crap. What are you going to do? Then you're going to register your serial port. Great news! UDO already has the serial ports that you're going to need for this. And it's already connected to the chip. All you got to do is turn it on. All right, we're going to give ourselves a name. I'm going to putty into my, I'm going to SSH into my UDO board. I encourage you to do the same if you have one. Oh, shit. You're killing me. What do we got going here? Yeah. Whew. Just sometimes you just gotta cuss a little bit with the microphone on. Let it know that you mean business. All right, I'm logged into my UDO board here. Let's just make sure we're on the internet. This will be important later. We are. Great. Oh, whoop. Done. All right. Get out of there. Get my way. Done with you for now. Huh. But no. Come on. Yes. Yes. All right. We're going to customize our name. How do we do that? Like everything we do on the YouTube board, you just got to make a file and put it in the right place. So let's change directory to our home directory here. Not home, sorry. Oh, we go to this directory, slash. Now I'm going to list everything. And we got all these folders to choose from. We're going to this one right here, etc., which you may have heard is called etc. This is from the Latin, which means and other stuff. It's all the miscellaneous files that you didn't have a better place to put. So I'm going to go into the etc. folder. Look what's in here. Whoa, we got a lot of files. We got host name, host deny, some passwords. I'm not looking in there, but maybe you can guess what's in it. We're going to make a new file that's going to go right in this area, probably right here. It's going to be called machine name. Sorry, machine info. Now, if you look here, Keith has done it in 2 steps. The first one, he does a touch. What is a touch? You guys know what it is to touch something. You just touch it. So, in Linux, if you touch a file using this command, it doesn't actually edit the file at all. What it does is it updates the timestamp, the last time it was touched, or the last time it was edited, or the last time it was opened, or when it was created, or any of these things. If the file does not exist and you attempt to touch it, it will create it immediately. So what Keith has done here is created this file, machine info. Of course, he did it from his home directory. I navigated to this folder, so I'm just going to call it machine info. And then he opens it in nano. This is a very important step. Sudo. This folder is protected. If you don't, sudo nano touch. Let me show you. I'm going to open here. Nano machine info. Now we're in our text editor here, and I'm going to say that my pretty host name equals Mark Udo. Very clever. I encourage you all to come up with something better than that. Maybe your team name is Double Dragons. Then your device should be called Double Dragon Udo. But also just using your name is okay. Now I'm going to write this out, and we're going to get an error. It's going to say, we cannot write this. The permission is denied because, like an idiot, I did not use my super user permission. So I'm going to get out of here. Oh, no, sorry. Get out of here. No, I'm not going to save. We'll try again, this time with permission. This nice thing about Udo is it predicts when you're going to mess it up and won't let you unless you're really sure. Now to ask for my password. Thank you. Now, pretty host name equals Mark Udo. I'm going to write it out. Enter. It's done. We get out of there. We're done with that file, maybe forever. Now that that's done, we've got to restart Bluetooth. This is the easiest one. You just type in the command, restart. Keith has said here, skip this step if you didn't do step 1, as if step 1 was optional. I'm telling you now, it's not optional. Give your UDO board a really cool, clever name. So, whoop, service, Bluetooth, restart, and we get up, waiting, okay, running, we're done, we're restarted. You should see no error messages. Cool. I'm going to turn on Discovery so that we can actually pair it. I don't even really know what this command does. I want to say HCI is hardware control interface, something like that. I'm not really a Linux guy. I'm more about multiplexers. So let me shrink this down. Actually, we don't need the whole thing. I know this is really exciting. It'll be much better when you do it on your own UDO boards. If you don't have a UDO board, go get a coffee. All right. No news is good news. If you get an error here, something terrible has happened. I hope nothing terrible happens. Now we're going to pair using this BlueZ simple agent command. What is BlueZ? Well, I'll tell you later. Great news. You only have to do this one time. I'm going to pull out my phone here, which is going to be really hard for you to see from the front row even, but we deal with it. I'm going to go into my Bluetooth set. What? Come on. Going into my Bluetooth settings. Let me just forget my previous UDO so you can see how exciting this is when it happens as if for the first time. I'm going to type in here, BlueZ dash simple agent. And now it's, oh shit. Oh, tell me I just spelled something wrong. Did I restart everything correctly? Give me a minute here. We may be in a serious situation. Let me just try that again. Uh-oh. Did I do that one? I'm telling you, this worked at my desk about 2 hours ago. This is terrible. Let me just restart the Bluetooth again. Uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. What? Oh, man, this is the worst. Something is terribly wrong. All right, machine info is there. Let me just make sure I didn't really goof on this and spell something wrong. Pretty host name. Mark UDO. I'm telling you, this is exactly what I did earlier today. Well, this is great. You can watch me struggle with this, and then you'll have all the answers when you go to do it yourself. All right, done here. Going to restart Bluetooth. Okay, that's done. Going to enable discovery. That's going. No news is good news. Okay, what am I seeing here? Oh, ugh. Okay, let's try this again. What? Okay, I'm going to actually read the error message this time. Error. Access denied. Rejected. Send message. Two match rules. Message call. So I have right here. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. You guys are great. Boom! Agent registered. Now I'm going to pair my new device. Boy, it's a good thing you guys are here. Come on. Oh, I'm seeing one called Andy. Kelvin, you do. Mark, you do. There we go. Dave, you do. Dave, your U-Do's running. Your ping doesn't work. Are you sharing internet with it? We'll fix it later. This is excellent. I'm going to say pair and type in here, yes, yes. All right. Now we're connected. Cool. Now you can see on my phone in the previous devices. You do. Thank you with that. You know, I can't believe I told you just 10 minutes ago, if you're trying to break it, U-Do won't let you. Try the sudo, and then I did it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to make a note here. You got to keep sudoing here. Usually it's only the first time that you try to sudo something and then it asks, you have permission, give me the password, and then you don't have to do it again. I wonder if there's a timeout where it forgets after a while. Okay, so now we're connected. Next, register the serial port. I told you we've already got one, but it's not enabled by default, which is weird. Sudo SDP tool add SO. So I don't know what's up with this function, but it's kind of broken. After you authorize the connection, you got to forcefully quit it with a Control-C. And you're going to get some keyboard interrupt. Don't worry about that. Everything is fine. I don't know why it behaves that way. Keith warned me this would happen. In fact, he says down here, if you're reconnecting, you don't have to go through the first step, but you do have to do the second step. Control-C to get out of that. So now, serial port service registered. Cool. This is exactly what I wanted to happen. All right, important things about Bluetooth. If you turn off your phone or your U-Do board, the Bluetooth connection is lost. Great news. They still remember each other, so you don't have to go through all that pairing nonsense again. You just got to say explicitly that I'm connecting again. So let's see. Right now, my phone defaulted to not connected. It's paired, but it's not connected, and I want to connect. So I'm going to open up my thing over here on my Android device. I'm using a Pixel. Great phone. And let's just open this again. Simple agent, it says agent registered. I'm going to tap connect here. Maybe I don't even have to do that step. And so now I'm connected. This is great. We're going to be able to send data and stuff. Very cool. Control-C to get out of that. You know, I'm still in the etc. folder. I don't want to be there. what am I looking for here? Home, UDoer. All right, we're back where we started. Ignore that error. Don't mind if I do. All right, we're gonna install a terminal. It's gonna but it's gonna function very similar to PuTTY. PuTTY is a terminal. We're using PuTTY for SSH, but you can also use it as a UART or serial terminal. Unfortunately, you can't use it as a Bluetooth serial terminal, but you can download one for your Android device. Great. Here's the link. And if you don't, I guess you can't click this link because I haven't put this up on the drive. But if you just go to the App Store and you type in Bluetooth terminal, that one should come up pretty quick. It's by QWERTY. Let me just Play Store here, Bluetooth terminal, and we've got this one right here. It's already been installed. Here we go, Bluetooth terminal by QWERTY. Really glad y'all sat in the front row. That would have been impossible to read from the back. You wear glasses, so you're okay. Okay. Oh, I told you, I forgot to tell you the best part. No. So here's the thing. You don't really need this program for the course. It only makes it easier to test. So in the real implementation of your project, you're going to pair your device with, you're going to pair your UDo device with some other Android app that your teammates are very busily developing. And they're going to handle all of the Bluetooth, everything on their end. And you won't ever have to worry about it. They're just going to feed you some data, you feed them some data, and for you, it will only ever look like a serial port. However, if you didn't have them to count on, you could use this Bluetooth terminal to simulate their input to help with the development of your device. Maybe whichever teammate is also doing the app development on an Android device will let you install this program and use it for your tests. But also, Dave, you got an Android device? Borrow Dave's. What you're going to do is just pair Dave's phone with both of them, both UDo's, and pick which one to connect to. So you're only going to be connected to one at a time. And Nia is also on your team. Nia, you got an Android device? Perfect. That's what I wanted to hear. You can also ask Nia very nicely. You can borrow her Android device, or if she can send you a couple fake messages to test your Python. Okay. Next. Some other Bluetooth stuff that you might want to do. You can see what you've ever connected to, all of it. This is mostly useful if you want to remove a device, which can be a problem. Some devices are limited to the number of Bluetooth connections they can make, or Bluetooth devices they can remember. You can't have 100, like if you connect your phone to your car stereo, you might not be able to connect to 100 cars. Even if you're only driving one at a time, it'll say, hey, you're asking me to remember a lot of information about a lot of cars. I won't do it. Delete something to make room. Here's how you do that. We got this lovely command here. Super user, that's me. BlueZ test device list. I'm just going to show that I've only ever connected one device, my Pixel. Here's my MAC address. Someone asked me about MAC addresses earlier. Was it Gibson? Where's Gibson? Gibson, you asked me about MAC addresses over email. Remember, I told you to get lost. I said, deal with it. You can have 2 MAC addresses. This is everything we need to know about MAC addresses. There's going to be one for the UDO board. Your Android device is going to remember it. If you wanted to remove this device, you need to remove it by this number, because you can have multiple devices with the same name, but not with the same number. You remove it with this command. I'm not going to show you how, but you just type it in. I don't want to have to redo it. To remove a previously paired device, you find it on the list. Maybe you just test it with Dave's phone, but then you don't want him to always be sending links to pornography to your UDO board, so you deactivate his connection. You just remove it. If you're going to remove it, you got to disable it first, or I guess disconnect first. Anyways, you can't remember all these commands, I'll send you the slideshow. All right, turning on and off the Bluetooth. Oh, this is very important. It's not really that important. We're never going to turn it off in this project. But in future projects, this will be super important, because Bluetooth takes a lot of power. It's a radio. And you might not want to leave it on all the time, or maybe you're just not using it. It just makes your board hot. Here's how you disable it. Let's see what happens. Our Bluetooth should already be started because we restarted it, but I'm just going to try. Service, Bluetooth, start. Spell Bluetooth correctly. Job is already running. That's excellent news. Thanks, UDoer. The PyBlueZ Python library. Before we talk about that, we'll step back into my slides. What is BlueZ? You may have found yourself typing this quite a lot over the last 20 minutes. BlueZ, oh, I gotta have, what am I doing? BlueZ is a Bluetooth management stack specific for Linux. A lot of work has already been put into the Ubuntu operating system to manage the intricacies of Bluetooth so that you don't have to. It's basically a wrapper that goes around it. But we're going to wrap it even more with a Python library from the internet. But if you're really curious and you want to know all about Python Linux BlueZ and what it can do, you go to this website. Look, from the official Ubuntu, whatever. You can read all about this. But we're not going to discuss it in this course. I'm not going to quiz you on it. We'll never ask you about it. You won't need to know it to complete the project. If you want to know more, have you guys heard of this website, LMGTFY? This is a great website. Do not send this link to your professors. This stands for, oh, come on. Whoops. Well, give me a minute. Wasn't supposed to do that. This is, let me Google that for you. It's like a joke website. You come up in here. This is like if someone asks you a stupid question like, how do you say hello in Korean? And you say, you really should have just gone to Google. So give me this link. You send them this link, and it takes them to this clever video how to say hello in Korean. And then click on this. You guys can tell me, is this accurate? Hold up. Well, maybe that was a terrible example. Either way, BlueZ is just a built-in Bluetooth manager. And we're going to download a library to manage that. It's going to turn the Bluetooth into a socket. What is a socket? In the real world, outside of computers, well, outside of Python, a socket is anything that you plug something into. This is an HDMI socket. We got a USB socket. That's a power socket. All kind of sockets. You got a light bulb that goes into a socket. That's a big light bulb. Anyway, in Python, a socket is where we get data from outside. So far, all of the data that we've had in our programs has come from within the program, such as the Rocket game, where we just did math on things that we'd already created, or we had gotten them from the ADC or the digital GPIO pins. Now we're going to add another source of input and another place to dump all of our wonderful, wonderful data. So at the lowest level, this is just a hole where data can come in from anywhere on the network. Some common items which will appear and will be spoken about as sockets. Bluetooth, that's the one we're going to use, but it will be wrapped up as a UART. It still needs some special attention though. Ethernet, Wi-Fi, some other radios, some other networking protocol. That's all going to come into Python as a socket. So how do we make a socket? What can we do with it? We're going to do it all with this library. Let's just have a look and see what's in here. Great news, you don't need to use GitHub to get this onto your UDO board. You can do it with a single line command, which is in Keith's presentation, and I'll bring it up in a minute. So let's look in here. Wow, there's a lot of stuff going on in this Git. But I'm going to go into this one here called Bluetooth. Here we've got some lovely Python modules. If I open up this one here, BlueZ, we're going to have, we got some lovely functions. We also got a couple classes. Here's a class, Bluetooth socket. We're going to use this one with its own functions. If you're really curious about these, I encourage you to read the documentation. What other kind of classes we got in here? Oh, device discoverer. I don't think we're going to use that. As with most libraries that you'll download, there's more power and information than you will actually need. But that's the cost of not writing everything yourself. Sometimes you get too much. Let's have a look in the BlueZ. What is this? Surprise! C and H. My favorite. I love C. And if you look in this file, there is so, look at this crap. We got thousands and thousands and millions and just whole civilization. Whoa, it just keeps going. 4,222 lines of C. And we're going to wrap it all up in Python and only use the very highest level of it. Thank God for that. Someone else who doesn't have a dog and doesn't have a wife or a husband or a boyfriend or a girlfriend or children wrote this wonderful wonderful library for us to use, and we say thank you. All right, here's how you're gonna get PyBlueZ on your UDO board. You're gonna type in this command, sudo pip install PyBlueZ. What is pip? Pip is a program designed to install other Python programs. So let me just reboot sudo pip install PyBlueZ. And it's going to have to think for a little bit. Oh, cannot fetch index base. What are you? No distributions at all found for PyBlueZ. This is terrible. This should not have happened. You guys try this on yours and tell me if it works. What? You got it? Maybe I'm missing like one. Oh, you know what? Let me go back to Keith's magic guide here. I'm pretty sure we're just missing a. No, that looks just. Do we already have pip? Let's check that. Sudo apt-get install. Let me just. We got it here. Don't forget this. Yeah. No, install. You know, we should already have pip. It should come with the UDO image. Boy, I really hope that fixed everything. What? Oh, something terrible is going on here. Let's ask, do we still have our internet? Yeah, we're still interneting. None of you are able to get this pip install thing to work? You get the same. You know, I'm telling you, this worked maybe 3 hours ago. Well, we can get it from the GitHub. I don't want to have to do that. I'd rather figure out why this is not working. Cannot fetch index base URL. Could not find any downloads that satisfy. What? This is. I guess it's possible that this has changed since earlier today, but I doubt that very much. Let's have a look. Oh. What do we got here? Oh, Jesus. Get up. Well, sure enough, that's definitely not there. Wow, this is terrible. Let me just give me 1 minute here. Adafruit-led-backpack. How about sudo pip install? Oh, how about Adafruit Motorhead? No, it's the same thing, but it definitely exists. Huh? 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 I'm wondering if this is not a network-based thing. Because at home, I can get the date synchronized. I'm thinking maybe it's possible that this specific function it will not allow through the guest network. I will think on this, but this is definitely going to derail the rest of the course today. The opposite of what I wanted. Maybe we'll have some emergency office hours after this class. What's going on after this class? Practice. Perfect. What? That's the same thing. What really goes on in the review session? What? SSH is putty. Is just that's just this is already where SSH in. You can't do anything if you don't SSH first. Oh man. Well, there was some more. Like we were literally the last page before we actually talk about Python today. If we don't get this installed, then huh, huh. I'm gonna restart my UDO board, see what happens. We shouldn't have to restart it. Maybe that's just how it is sometimes. I would call a 5-minute break, but we only have 12 minutes left, so hardly enough time to. Yeah. No, just gotta wait. Any of you been to Costco yet? Great, check it out. If you want to go, tell me. I have a membership. You can buy the biggest piece of meat you ever saw at Costco. You can get a whole lamb. If you want to spend $200 on beef, you can. I don't recommend it. Maybe you find some people to share it with you. You know I have a barbecue at my apartment. You guys want a party? You bring the meat. I'll bring the fire. We have a good time. All right, you son of a bitch. What are you doing to me? What are you? This is not real. Mm, 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 mm. Have I told you guys how much I hate UDO? UDO board is the worst. Just, okay, try again. Yes! Maybe I just had to be patient. Cool. All right. One more time. Sudo pip install PyBlueZ. Give me good news. Timestamp too far in the future. Huh. I wonder if it's a clock synchronization thing. Well, we're boned. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to breeze through the rest of these slides, all about Python, and maybe we'll just talk about them more in office hours. The main thing is if you import PyBlueZ, you got to import it like this. Don't just try to type import PyBlueZ. What is this star all about? So in a library, or in this case, we call it a module in Python, you got some private variables and private functions, which are only for use within that module. And they may share the same name as functions outside the module. So if you include this star and you import it like this, it only gives you access to the functions and the classes and the variables and the constants that you are supposed to need from the outside. Initializing a server. I told you we got to make a socket. So this is the handle for our socket. And here we're gonna, this is a Bluetooth socket I showed you, is part of that library. We're gonna give it this RF com so that it knows, that we know that it's the input is, even though it's called a serial port, it's actually straight from the radio. These are a couple functions we're gonna import, not import, we're going to use. This one here, most important, listen. This means that we're only going to be checking to see if data has come into the port. And what we would do if data came in was just echo it back out so we could see it. The typical way that a UART or serial network works is if one computer or device needs data from the other, it will just ask for that data. You would send a command, which you have to just define yourself and say, give me the temperature data. And then the response is, here's the temperature data. You will have to define this protocol within your own teams. But it's real straightforward. If you have questions, come see me in office hours. I don't really need this. UUID. This is a unique number which identifies what your service is. And it doesn't really matter which number you pick, as long as you don't pick one that's already taken. Some numbers are explicitly reserved, such as heart rate monitors. Every heart rate monitor in the world that is actually approved for use on human hearts uses the same UUID number. And there's rules that go with this UUID. Air quality sensor is not that common, so you can make up your own number or just use this one. This will be fine. Advertising, because connecting your phone through the terminal every time is a pain in the ass. We got some wrappers here on that BlueZ service so that we don't have to. And they've got some handlers here. Oh man, I really wish you guys could see what's going on my UDO board, but all of this is just gonna have to wait. I'm gonna put this online. Wow, we really didn't have enough time. I'm gonna put all this online. You guys can read through it. If it doesn't make immediate sense, don't waste too much time on it. Come see me. Maybe this is a blessing. Maybe this is a sign that we should not work on Bluetooth this week until all of our analog reading and data capturing is in line. But I will put both of these on the shared drive anyway. I'm so pissed. Everything went wrong today. My pen is going crazy. My UDO board wouldn't update. Ugh. Damn it. What a waste. Review session starts in 2 minutes. God. Well, friends, if I solve the mystery of why this won't install the PyBlueZ library, I will email you immediately.